Hello everyone, welcome back to another video. Today I'll be walking you through my first ever time decaling. My purpose of this video is to really help out all of you guys who also want to get into decaling. There are actually a few things you should know before you end up starting. So I'll be going over all of those today in this video. I'll also give you guys a couple tips and tricks I learned along the way, and just my overall advice if you are going to be trying this out for the first time. So without any further ado, let's go ahead and hop right into it. So what you want to do to start off is to cut out your decals, obviously. And so I chose to do Hauser just because I want to have a Hauser figure and there aren't any printed ones really out on the market. So that was actually kind of the reason I wanted to try decaling, was to so I could get a Hauser figure. But yeah, that's what I'm doing. The decals are actually from Jonak Toys as well. But yeah, first and foremost, you need to cut those out. I kind of did them as I went along with the figure. You can cut them out all at once, kind of really up to you, but I did use scissors for these for cutting out all of my decals. And I think scissors work great. I actually think they're better than an X-Acto knife for the torso and the legs. But when you get to the smaller pieces, like especially on the helmet, you really do need an X-Acto knife. It just makes your life so much easier. And that kind of brings me into my first tip of the video, which is to really get as close to the printing as you can possible when you're cutting out the decals. Even if you think you've got it cut down like really close, a lot of the times the outside of the clear decal will stick out on the minifigure. So yeah, you really just want to get it as close as you possibly can. But then we get into actually sticking the decals in the water, and usually they seem to be in here for a couple of minutes before they should be good to just lift out of the water. And very important tip here, you want to make sure you keep the white backing on the decal on the decal itself whenever you lift it out of the water. I know that might not feel like the right thing to do, but keep that on there, or else the decal will fold in on you and kind of it'll get all messed up if you just take out the decal itself and not keep it on the backing. So what you're gonna do is take it out of the water with the backing on, and then slide the decal off right next to the figure, as I'm doing here in the video. But yeah, ended up doing that, and then once you get the decal on, you just want to pat it down with like a cloth or like a sponge or something like that, just to try to get all the water and the bubbles out from underneath the decal, and just overall to smooth it out. But you want to make sure you don't go too crazy with it, and once you get it down, make sure to just leave it to dry. A couple times I accidentally pressed on one of the the back torso, ended up kind of scrunching it up a little bit, so was able to fix it. But you want to make sure you avoid touching it as much as possible once you get it into the spot. Just leave it there to dry for as long as you can. And the legs are basically the same story, just follow these same principles that I outlined regarding the torso. I would like to mention that I do notice that I put the legs around the wrong way. The coloring supposed to go on the outside, so don't make the same mistake as me if you're doing a Hauser. But I do end up fixing that later, not in the video. I noticed it off camera, but yeah, don't worry, I don't leave it like that. I guess one tip I do have for the legs is to fully remove them, like have the legs separate whenever you put the decals on. That just makes it so much easier. And like I did here, maybe use a piece of reference. So I used to use these 212 legs to help me align the decal correctly, make sure I had that on there the right way. But I guess now we'll go ahead and move on to the helmet, which is by far the hardest part of this figure. So like I said before, cutting out these parts of the helmet, you really want to use a X-Acto knife. I was able to get a decent job done with scissors, so it's not the end of the world if you don't have an X-Acto knife, but it definitely helps out a lot. So yeah, cut out those pieces, put them in the water, and as far as lining up the main like visor piece, it wasn't really that hard. Once again, using a piece of reference, so just go grab a clone helmet from your collection. Makes it a whole lot easier so you can see where to line things up. So I think that came out very well. It was actually, I think, what came out the best out of the entire trooper. But the most challenging piece by far of the whole trooper was the blue coloring on the top of the helmet. If you've seen my previous video, you'll know that I kind of showed this figure off already. I kind of showed you guys how to make him look battle damaged, and that really happened with the top blue part of this helmet, which I was just talking about, as it did fold on itself and kind of scrunch up a lot, which kind of gave it the rough battle damage marks. So it was a blessing in disguise. But you just got to be careful if you don't, like on a different figure, if you don't want it battle damaged at all, you got to be really careful with these flimsy pieces, and just be patient with it. Don't try to rush it at all. If it doesn't work out, put it back on the decal like white backing, put it back in the water, get it all nice and ready, and then try again. But yeah, speaking of battle damage, after I noticed how good the top of the helmet was after I got that on there, I actually took some of the tweezers and just kind of made my own custom battle damaged marks on the rest of the figure. It's just another little tip for you guys if you want to do that for any of your figures. But then we just got to put on the little mouthpiece, which wasn't that hard. It was a pretty simple placement, just because it wasn't super flimsy. It was pretty easy to line up, and yeah, it wasn't bad at all. So here's a look at the final figure for my first time decaling. Not half bad at all, I think. You can see I did kind of mess up the top left of that torso. That was just when I was putting on other pieces just kind of scrunched up that little part. So that doesn't look the best, but other than that, I think I did a pretty flawless job. And I'll for sure be getting some more decals in the future because it's just a cheap option to, you know, get these cool looking figures. But that's going to be about the end of today's video, guys. So if you did go on to enjoy it, I'd greatly appreciate it if you would leave a like and subscribe. But other than that, I'll see you guys all in the next video. Bye.